Hello, student. I, Dr. Shafali Jain, Assistant Professor, Tirthankar Mahavir University. Student, today we discuss about the substitution effect. First of all, what is substitution? Substitution, substitute or substitution good in the in economics and consumer theory refers to a product or service that consumers see as essential, the same or similar enough to another product. Put simply, a substitute is a good that can be used in place of another. It means substitute goods is that good which we can to use in the another. mm, Substitute as tea and coffee. Substitutes play an important part in the marketplace and are considered a benefit for consumer. They provide the consumer more choices for and who the consumers are then better able to satisfy their needs and can include alternative parts that can replace the standard parts. So a substitute is a product or service that can be easily replaced with another. Why consumers? In economics, products are often substitutes if the demand for one product increases when the price of the other goes up. Substitute provide choices and alternative for consumers while creeping competition and lower prices in the marketplace. When consumers make buying decision, substitute provides them with alternatives. Substitutes occurs when there are at least two products that can be used for the same purpose, such as an iPhone versus an Android phone. For a product to be substitute for another, it must share a particular relationship with the with that good. Those relationships can be close, like one brand of coffee with another. So somewhat further apart, such as a coffee or tea. So substitute giving the consumer more choices help to generate competitions in the market and lower prices as a result. While they may be good for consumer, if they may have the opposite effect on companies bottom line, alternative products can into companies profitably as consumer may end up choosing one more over another or see market and also take the profit. So when I have also discussed the demand schedule, and you also examine the relationship between demand schedule of substitute if product. If the price of products go up, the demand for a substitute will tend to increase. This is because people will prefer to lower cost substitutes to the higher cost one. If, for example, the price of coffee increases, the demand for tea may also increase as consumers switch from coffee to tea, maintain their budget. So substitutes when a goods prices decreases, the demand for its substitute may also decrease. In formal economics language, x and y are substitutes. If the demand for x increases when the price of y increases, of there is a possible cross elasticity of demand. So student, I think you have to understood well what is the substitute codes. And in the previous video, I also discussed about the substitute codes. So substitute codes are all around, are all around us, as mentioned, and we also in our daily life we also give the preference to the substitute as Coke versus Pepsi and tea and coffee, apples and orange, and e-books and regular books, and and or so these these goods are the example of the substitute goods. Now, in this video, I think you have to well understood what's the substitute goods. Now we see the substitutes effect. What is the substitute effect? We also understood in this video. So now discuss about the substitute effect. The substitution effect refers to the change in demand for a good as a result of a change in the relative price of the good compared to that of other substitute goods. For example, when the price of a good rises, it becomes more expensive related to other goods in the market. As a result, consumers switch away from the good toward in its substitutes. So, the substitutions effect is the decrease in sales for a product that can be attributed to consumers switching to cheaper alternative when its price rises. When the price of a product or service increases but the buyer's income stays the same, the substitution effect generally kicks in. In economics, particularly in consumer choice theory, the substitution effect is one component of effect of a change in the price of a good upon the amount of that good demanded by a consumer, the other being the income effect. When a goods price increases, if the hypothetically the same consumer bundles were to be retained, income would be freed up which could be spent on a combination of more of each of the goods. Thus, the new total consumption bundle chosen compared to the old one reflect both the effect of the changed relative price of the two goods. One unit of one good can now be traded for different quantities of the other goods than the before as the ratio of their prices has changed, and the effect of the freed up income. The effect of the relative price changed is called the substitution effect. While the effect due to income having been freed up, it is called the income effect. And in this video, we also discuss both. The impact of a price changes. Uh, economists often separate the impact of a price change into the two components: substitution effect and income effect. Now we discuss about what is the I have also discussed what is the substitution effect. Now we discuss it in the detail. What is the substitution effect? What is the income effect? First of all, I'll discuss the substitution effect refers to the change in demand for a good as a result of a change in the relative price of the good compared to that of the other substitute goods. For example, when the price of a good rises, it becomes more expensive related to the other in the market. As a result, consumer switch away from the good toward its substitutions. Now we discuss about the substitution effect, and we will also discuss this with the diagrams. But first of all, we also discuss the income effect. The income effect is the change in the consumption of goods by consumer based on income and purchasing power. What is the purchasing power? Purchasing power means how much things, how many things a consumer can buy a particular income. The substitution effect occurs when consumer replace cheaper goods with more expensive item due to price changes and improve financial condition and vice versa. So I think you have to understood what is the substitution effect and income effect. We will also read it here. Price effect. Price effect can be defined as a effect can be defined defined as the change in quantity demanded as of a commodity as a result of a decrease in its price. This change in quantity demanded takes place through the substitution effect and income effect also. So it's just like a substitution effect. As the price of a commodity falls, it becomes cheaper in comparison to other commodities. Therefore, consumer will buy more of commodity as it is relatively cheaper compared to the other goods. Better example, this increase in the quantity demanded due to a change in quantity demanded due to a change in relative price is called the substitution effect. The substitution effect is always positive, but its magnitude depends on the nature and types of commodity. Just like a price effect, with a fall in the price of a commodity, purchasing power of the consumer increases. He or she can buy the same quantity of commodity with less income spent. In the case of normal goods, the income effect is positive as the quantity demanded of commodity increases with an increase in income. However, the income effect is negative for inferior goods. Inferior goods which has a negative relationship with the income as a given goods and when the income of the consumer increases he also less the consumption of the inferior goods. So the income effect is negative for inferior goods because consumer prefers to buy other goods as their real income rises. So price effect is equal to substitution effect plus income effect. So substitution effect is the effect due only a relative price changes controlling for the change in real income. In order to compute it, we ask what is the bundle that would make the consumer just as happy as before the price change. But if they have to make their choice faced with the new prices, to find this point, we consider a budget line characterized by a new prices. We will discuss in the further video and diagrams. Now, what is the substitution effect? I have also discussed the substitution effect. It involves the substitution of goods X for good buy or vice versa due to change in relative prices of the two. Methods of substitution effect. Substitution effect can be done in several ways. There are two main methods, the Hickshian methods and the Slutsky method. Now, for the normal goods, income and substitution effect. In this case, we will also discuss this diagram. And with the help of this diagram, I also discuss how substitution effect to work in the Hicks. According to Hicks, income level must be reduced in such a manner that a consumer return to the original level of utility. The budget line needs to be shifted leftward in the order to return the consumer to the origin indifference curve. The new budget line must be tangent to the original indifference curve. Hence, the income effect is eliminated by the reducing the income level through the leftward shift in the budget line. As a result, the visible change in quantity demanded is due to the substitution effect only. We will also discuss it in this diagram. Student, now understood well the diagram. In the diagram, the consumer is an equilibrium point at the point E1. E1, it's a E1 point. Initially, we considered the quantity demanded of our normal goods on x-axis and the quantity demanded of another normal good y-axis. As the price of normal goods x decreases, suppose the price of normal goods x decreases, the budget line rotates from xy to xz. First budget line is this, which is draw the orange line. It is XY. Here, I think you see here, and the budget line rotate to here. XZ. It's new budget line. Here, I think you are seeing the new equilibrium point is at E2. It's a new equilibrium point. First of all, the equilibrium point, it's that. ये orange line से it's a draw with the orange line, and the first budget line is X Y. Okay, and the second budget line, when the price of the X good it decreases, the new budget line is become X Z. It's a new budget line. Sorry, budget line, and new equilibrium point E2, where the new budget line XZ is tangent to the indifference curve IC2. It's a indifference curve IC2. It's a tangent on the new budget line. Okay, student. The change in the quantity demanded due to fall in the price of X is difference between B1, 2 and B2. This replaces the price effect. Before, the consumer use B1 X good. Now he goes to B2. B2, this replaces the price effect because the price of the X good has become down. To decom decompose the price effect, the increase in real income due to a fall in the price of X and must be offset by eliminated the income effect. To reduce the now the money income would be reduced and the real income will be same. Okay, to in this condition the consumer money income will be reduced and the real income will be same. Real income, it's a purchasing power, and so purchasing power will be same. To reduce the income level, so the consumer reduce the income level, the budget line shifted parallel. It's a parallel, it's blue line, say it's a parallel XZ to PQ. Here a new budget line PQ due to reduce the income level. Okay. So the magnitude to this shift or amount of income to be reduced. Here you have to remember that the income level should be reduced and the real income is the same but money income reduced here. So budget line shift to the shifted parallel from XY to PQ. Okay. So, or the amount of income to be reduced in such that consumer is back on the original indifference curve. Here new indifference curve IC1. Okay, the budget line PQ is tangent to IC1. Therefore, the consumer is at equilibrium at a new point E3. It's a E3, a new equilibrium point. It's that, which is on original indifference curve but is associated with the new budget line. But a new budget line PQ. Sir, new budget line PQ. The quantity demanded at this point is B3. Here B3. Okay. The indifference, the difference between B1, it's a B1 and B3. Okay, is substitution effect because the income effect has been offset. The change in quantity demanded occurs only due to the substitution effect. Okay, here the income effect has been offset. You have to remember it. We reduce the income level, which is has increased due to the decrease the price of the X good. Okay, so the change in the quantity demanded occurs only due to the substitution effect. The income effect can be obtained by subtracting the substitution effect from the price effect, which will be equal to the difference between B2 B3. Hope student you have to understood well this diagram. So the substitution effect is effect due to only to relative price change controlling for the change in the real income. In order to compute it, we ask what is the bundle that would make the consumer just as happy as consider a budget line characterized by a new prices but with a level of income such that is tangent to the initial indifference curve. So we discuss in that diagram the consumer level uh, initial consumer level is at point E1 where the initial budget line is tangent to the higher indifference curve. Consumer and when the goods also decrease, when the price of the X goods decrease after decrease, the consumer move to the point E2. E2 where the new budget line is tangent to the lower indifference curve. Consumption because the consumption because the X good has been uh, the price of the X good has been decreased. But when to reduce the income level of the consumer, the budget line also shifted back and it become also new budget line PQ where the new equilibrium point and E3 and this is showing the uh, substitution effect. Hope student you well understood the Hicks method, normal goods in the reference of the normal goods substitution effect. Now we will discuss about the Slutsky method, normal goods substitution effect. Uh, there is some changes in the Hicks and Slutsky substitution effect. We will also discuss about it. First of all, see the diagram. In this method, the income effect eliminated by shifting the budget line XY to the left in such a way that the consumer return to the same quantity demanded to the commodity as the before the price change. The budget line is shifted PQ here, PQ, and it passes through the original equilibrium E1. It's a E1. First of all, E1. This is the which is the orange E1 because the price of commodity has decreased. The price of commodity X has decreased. The consumer will not be the consumer will not be at the equilibrium E1. Instead, the consumer will maximize utility at the point where the budget line P Q. PQ, it's a tangent. PQ here. Yeah, it's a PQ. A new indifference curve I IC3. At this new equilibrium point E3, the quantity demanded of the commodity is equal to the B3. Quantity demanded is equal to the B3 here. Since the income effect has been offset at this point, the change in quantity demanded is purely due to the substitution effect. The magnitude of the substitution effect is the difference between B1 and B3. Similarly, the income effect is represented by the differences between B2 and B3. So, price effect is equal to substitution effect plus income effect means B2 minus B1, B2 minus B1 is equal to B3 minus B1 plus B2 minus B3. Hope student you understood well uh, what is what is the Slutsky methods. Now, so the Hicksian and Slutsky approaches are two approaches of defining compensated demand. The reason to study compensation is to isolate the substitution effect, which is particular ensures the law of demand that demand curve must slow down, always must slow down. Actually, demand is stemming from the consumer maximization problem need not to satisfy the law of demand, because in addition to the substitution effect is effect, it incorporate the wealth effect. A price change might make the consumer feel richer or poorer. So we also here we also see the Siltesky and Hicks Hicksian method and their effect on the normal goods. In the Hicksian effect, demand curve proposed expresses a demand for consumption bundles when the utility is fixed for the consumer as the expenditure is reduced. Hicks compensated demand curve separated the price effect into substitution and income effect through the compensating income variation caused by the change in the relative price of a good, keeping the real income constant. The demand curve isolates the substitution effect. It's illustrate that it illustrates that the consumption that after the price change is compensated in such a way that it allows the consumer to have the same utility as above. And in the Celtiski, the demand curve expresses the changes in demand for consumption bundle due to a price change while the utility is fixed. It states that the changes in demand include substitution and income effect, and they together equal the total change in demand. Celtiski compare demand curve explain the price effect by taking the real income to the consumer as constant. As the price of good X fall, the income of the consumer rises, but it is adjusted in such a way that the amount of good X consumed is same as before, so his real income remains constant. I think I hope you have to understood well. Now, according to Hicks, income level must be reduced in such a manner that a consumer returns to original level of utility. As you see in the diagram, the budget line needs to be shifted leftward. Here, shifted leftward. It's also you see in the Hixian method for income and substitution effect. The budget line needs to be shifted leftward in order to return the consumer to the original indifference curve. The new budget line must be tangent to the original indifference curve. Hence, the income effect is eliminated by the reducing the income level through a leftward shift in the budget line. As a result, the visible change in quantity demanded is due to the substitution effect only, while the Siltesky method. So Siltesky suggested a different approach where income level must be reduced. Income level must be reduced such a manner that a consumer is back to purchasing an original quantity of goods when there was no price change. The budget line passes through the original equilibrium point. ये budget line this passes through the original equilibrium point. On this new budget line, the consumer is at equilibrium on an indifference curve that gives higher utility. In the indifference curve, this higher that gives higher utility. The quantity demanded of the commodity at this point represent the substitution effect because the income effect has been eliminated. So I also discuss both the substitution effect and they also give uh, their substitution effect of the normal things, inferior goods, given goods. We also discuss what is the inferior goods. The substitution effect is positive, but the income effect is negative for inferior goods. However, the overall price is still positive. As I discussed you before, what's the inferior goods? The inferior goods are those goods which has a negative relationship with the income. So this is because the magnitude of the positive substitution effect is greater than the magnitude of the negative income effect. So price effect is equal to substitution effect plus income effect, where the price effect is positive because substitution effect is more than income effect. And in the given goods, similarly to inferior goods, the substitution effect is positive, but the income effect is negative. For the given goods, however, the overall price effect becomes negative for given goods. This happened because the magnitude of the positive substitution effect is less than the magnitude of the negative income effect. So price effect is equal to substitution effect plus income effect, where the price effect is negative because the income effect more than substitution effect. While for normal goods and inferior goods, the price effect is positive. That is, a fall in the price of a commodity leads to increase in the quantity demanded for the commodity. Given goods are a special case where a decrease in the price of the commodity is accompanied by a decrease in its quantity demanded. This is because the negative income effect is huge for these goods with which exceed the positive substitution effect. The overall price effects ends up being negative and the quantity demanded of the goods falls with a fall in its price. And price so the price effect is a combination of income and substitution effect taking place simultaneously, but only the price effect is observed as a change in quantity demanded with the change in price. Income and substitution effect cannot be observed directly because only the overall price effect is observable in the end. Price effect needs to be uh, decomposed into income and substitution effect to study their magnitude and direction. As the price of a commodity falls, it becomes cheaper in comparison to other commodities, leading to a substitution effect. The real income of the consumer also increases because its purchasing power also increases, leading to the income effect. Both of these make up the price effect. To separate the substitution effect from the income effect, the real income of the consumer has to be made constant. In other words, the income effect can be negated by returning the real income of the consumer back to the level. Because the price change in this way, the change in quantity demanded will reflect only the substitution effect because the income effect will be eliminated. After obtaining the substitution effect in this way, the difference between the price effect and substitution effect shows the magnitude of the income effect. Hence, the change in the quantity demanded is decomposed into two parts: change in quantity demanded due to the substitution effect and change in quantity demanded due to the income effect. Here we also discuss the Hicks and the Hicks here Hicks income effect. I also discuss it briefly again. and income. According to Hicks, income level must be reduced in such a manner that a consumer returns to the original level. Here, original level of utility. The budget line needs to be shifted leftward in order to return the consumers to the original indifference curve. Here, the new budget line. Here, the new budget line must be tangent to the original indifference curve. Hence, the income effect is eliminated by the reducing the income level through a leftward shift in the budget line. As a result, the visible change in quantity demand is due to the substitution effect. While in Saltusky effect, you see in the diagram, wait here, you can see the Saltusky suggested a different approach while where income level must be reduced in such a manner that a consumer is pay back to purchasing an original quantity of goods when there was no price change. The resultant budget line passes through the original equilibrium point. It's a new equilibrium point. On this new budget line, the consumer is at equilibrium on an indifference curve that gives higher utility and the quantity demanded of a commodity at this point represent the substitution effect because the income effect has been eliminated. So for the normal goods, uh, you see that the income effect is eliminated by shifting the budget line xy to the left, xy to the left in such way that a consumer returns to the same quantity demanded of the commodity as before the price change. The budget line is shifted to PQ, here the PQ, and it passes through the original equilibrium point E1. Because the price of commodity has decreased, the consumer will not be equilibrium at E1. E1 instead the consumer will maximize utility at the point where the budget line PQ is tangent to a new indifference curve I3, IC3. At this new equilibrium point E3, the quantity demanded of the commodity is equal to the B3. Since the income effect has been offset at this point, the change in quantity demanded is purely due to the substitution effect. The magnitude of the substitution effect is the difference between P1 and P3. Similarly, the income effect is represented by the difference between B2 and B3. Hope student, you well understood what is the substitution effect, what is the substitution goods, what is the substitution effect, and the income effect and substitution effect, Hicks method and Siltesky method. Now, thank you. Thank you very much.